Everybody mentions collaborative divorce over and over again ad nauseum. Is it worth it? Collaborative divorce is sort of the flavor of the month. It has been around for years, as far as I'm aware. I am collaboratively trained and I've done very few collaborative divorces. Here's the reason why. Generally speaking, collaborative divorce starts at 20 years. I did not modify my voice for this podcast or do anything special in order to enunciate $25,000. That is for 3 sessions. The first session is with the lawyers, the financial planner, and for the psychotherapist or mental health therapist that is involved with your case. There is a team of people thoroughly trained and at the top of their profession, mostly, ready to diagnose all of the problems that your divorce presents, encounter them, and ensure that everything is handled professionally, timely, reasonably, and gently during the process. The process takes approximately 6 to 9 months. Some people resolve their case after 2 sessions. Generally, the cases are resolved after 3 sessions. Here's the kicker, ladies and gentlemen. If your case is not resolved within 3 sessions, at some point during one of your 3 meetings, likely in meeting 2 or meeting 3, your advisors, the 2 attorneys, the therapist, and the expert CPA, are going to tell you that they need a replenishment of their retainer. That means that a collaborative divorce generally starts at $25,000. It can become significantly more expensive. And so say the collaborative lawyers who really want this to work and want to steward your process. Here's what they say. Well, if you go to a traditional divorce and want to fight it out in court, you could spend twice or 3 times that money. Maybe. But what about just doing an uncontested divorce where you realistically only require one really thoroughly trained attorney and he or she can draft all of your documents and keep your costs at a fraction of the price, 1/5 of the price of a collaborative divorce, maybe even less, depending on the extent of your assets, renting plan, and special circumstances. So why would anybody want to pay 25 to, let's say, $50,000 to get a divorce? Well, here's why. If you are what we call a 1%er and you have an extraordinary income and you have enough money, why not keep your marital settlement agreement confidential? Why not preserve your family's resources? And by that I mean, why not have everything done behind closed doors, where there is no judge, where there is no court hearing, most likely, unless it's the end and it's just a formality, where there is no intrusion into your personal life, where nobody's making decisions for you of any kind, not your timelines, not where your kids are going to spend their time, not how you divide your finances. All of that will be done in the collaborative process itself at the old conference table, in person or virtually. The beauty of a collaborative divorce is that if it works and it works well, after you've spent your money on it, you're going to have a parenting plan. You're going to have a well orchestrated, one would think, marital settlement agreement that has accurately diagnosed your financial positions and perhaps even provided some tax advice if you do have that expert CPA as to how to best tax affect your assets and how your liabilities might impact that as well, depending on whether or not you own a business or whether or not you have any offsets. That sounds pretty great. If you make $300,000 or more a year, $25,000 divorce for 2 parties, the whole process from start to finish sounds great. But if you make $100,000 a year and your spouse makes $50,000 a year, $25,000 for a divorce sounds like an outrage. And it may very well be outrageous unless the collaborative folks are right. What if it's 2 years down the road and you find yourselves deadlocked in a hotly contested divorce that is kicking, scratching, clawing from start to finish, never ending conflict, motion after motion, discovery request after discovery request, mediation, and then ultimately a 1 or more day trial? Then you might both spend $25,000 each for that 2-year odyssey when you could have spent $25,000 to start and had something much, much different in a contained environment. Well, a collaborative divorce does not necessarily work. It doesn't mean that both parties are always going to trust the process. If the process breaks up, you've spent a small fortune of money before you've even started your traditionally contested divorce. There's that unfortunate non silver lining truth. And even worse, we have a circumstance where if you try the collaborative process and it doesn't work, your attorneys in the collaborative process have made an agreement with you through your memorandum of understanding that they cannot be your attorney of record if the case is contested, because they now have all of the knowledge of both parties from the process itself, and now they are essentially disqualified from being your attorney. Now you have to find another attorney and start over again. Why not try to resolve your case as an uncontested divorce on your terms and their terms, or somewhere in between? Save yourselves a small fortune of money and try to do it. And if your case needs to be contested because you're at total loggerheads, the collaborative process is likely not right for you anyway. And then you're going to have to start a contested divorce, which is where the rubber hits the road and where the issues become more severe, and there's likely going to be court intervention. In theory, collaborative divorce is wonderful. If only we could all afford it, and if only everybody could have a collaborative divorce. But that is not practical. It is not realistic. And it is likely never going to happen, which means that collaborative divorce has become something of a niche kind of a divorce, with a boutique firm that works with upper class folks who are well to do, who have fantastic careers, and the means and the ability to afford such a divorce. And it sounds really great, and it works beautifully when it works beautifully, until or unless it does not. But it is not financially something that most people can afford. Most people disqualify it out of hand and refuse to do it out of hand because they do not wish to spend the entirety of the rest of their lives paying off legal fees for the collaborative divorce. That doesn't mean that a traditional divorce is always the way to go either, but there are alternatives, and I submit to you, uncontested divorce is the correct alternative.